Would you pay $11 for a latte? No, seriously, $11 for one coffee. You check the menu, you look at the barista, there's no gold in it. But this isn't a joke. It's the new reality, already hitting cities everywhere. And here's the twist. Cafe owners aren't getting rich. They're terrified you'll stop coming. If they don't raise prices, they shut down. Watch this. Your coffee just jumped from $5 to $11. This isn't just about greed. It's brutal math, and it's already here. Let's break down why your coffee costs double and what's really behind the $11 latte. So why is this happening right now? It's a perfect storm of disasters colliding at once. Coffee bean prices just smashed through the highest level since 1977. Arabica beans hit $4.35 per pound last week, triple the long-term average. That alone would be enough to shake the industry, but add on top of that, a labor crisis, exploding rent, hidden banking fees, endless government fines, and the crushing weight of debt. And suddenly it costs a cafe over $8 just to hand you that latte. Their only choices: charge you $11 or close their doors forever. Let's start with the most obvious cost, the beans themselves. This simple seed fuels a global ritual, making coffee the second most traded commodity in the world after oil. But the intricate network that delivers it is now in chaos. Climate change hasn't just made things hotter, it's made weather dangerously unpredictable. Take Brazil, the world's biggest coffee producer. It was hammered by a severe drought followed by a sudden frost, a combination that destroyed nearly a quarter of its delicate Arabica crop. Meanwhile, Vietnam, the number 2 supplier, faced the opposite problem. Unseasonal torrential rains hit the country's central highlands, wiping out 20% of its harvest by knocking cherries from their branches before they could ripen. Normally, when one region struggles, others pick up the slack, but this crisis is global. The world's backup supply, the emergency coffee stockpiles held in warehouses, has been drained. They're now at a 22-year low, meaning there's no buffer left to absorb the shock. This creates a perfect storm. Every roaster, from giant chains to small mom-and-pop cafes, is now locked in a desperate bidding war for the same limited supply. It's a classic case of supply and demand, and when supply is this scarce, prices don't just rise, they explode. The impact on the ground is staggering. For a small cafe owner, a bag of green beans that cost them $280 just last year now commands a price of $600. That's more than double the cost. That's not just an abstract number. That price hike translates directly to an extra dollar of cost tacked onto every single cup they serve. And that's before accounting for milk, sugar, or the cup itself. Multiply that by hundreds of cups a day, thousands per month, and the razor-thin profit margins that small shops rely on simply evaporate. The business model that worked for decades is collapsing almost overnight. And then there's the labor problem. It's the constant worry that keeps cafe owners up at night. More than rent or beans, the number one issue is staffing. Finding reliable people is one challenge, but keeping them is another entirely, creating a constant state of uncertainty for small business owners. Because running a cafe isn't just pouring drip coffee. It's a skilled craft demanding precision. It's pulling perfect espresso shots and steaming velvety microfoam with speed. On top of that, baristas are the face of the business, expected to handle long lines while keeping every customer happy. This skill means experienced baristas are in high demand. To keep them, owners are paying more than ever. Since 2022, average wages have jumped from $13 an hour to $18.50, but that's just base pay. When you factor in taxes, sick days, and benefits, the real cost is closer to $22 per hour per worker. When you add it all up, the impact is staggering. Labor eats up 35 cents of every single dollar a cafe earns. Worse, this cost is fixed, but customer traffic isn't. On a busy Saturday, staff are sprinting nonstop. But on a slow Tuesday morning, those same employees are being paid to stand around waiting for a rush that isn't coming. It's a fundamental inefficiency. Those slow hours add up, wasting as much as 8% of total sales across a month. For small cafes on razor-thin margins, it's not just a loss, it's a constant drain. It's death by 1,000 cuts. But if beans and wages weren't enough, let's talk about rent. A cafe that paid $4,100 for its shop in 2019 is now staring down $7,800 for the same 4 walls. Commercial landlords know that cafes can't just move. The espresso machines are bolted into plumbing. The electrical is custom wired. Relocating costs tens of thousands, which most cafes don't have. So when the lease renews, owners are trapped. Pay the new rent or shut down. And with coffee already a low margin product, a sudden 80% increase in rent can obliterate profitability instantly. instantly. Now layer on the invisible leeches, credit card fees. Every single time you tap your card, about 2.6% plus a flat 10 cents goes straight to the banks. On an $11 latte, that's almost 40 cents gone before the cafe even counts it. Multiply that across hundreds of sales per week, and it adds up to thousands of dollars bled away annually. And cafes can't avoid it. Most people don't carry cash anymore. They either accept cards and bleed or refuse and lose customers. It's a no-win situation. And then come the compliance paper cuts. Governments stack layer upon layer of regulations, health inspections, fire safety, environmental rules, tax filings, wastewater reports, the list goes on. One slip up, one missed deadline, and fines rain down. In Los Angeles, missing a single quarterly wastewater report triggers an $100 fine. Not a warning, not a grace period, just instant punishment. For a cafe scraping by on slim margins, fines like this can be devastating. They don't make the coffee better, they don't pay staff, they're just money vanishing out of the register. Debt is another hidden weight. Most independent cafes aren't rolling in startup capital, they borrow heavily. The average cafe operates with $51,000 in loans. When interest rates were low, this wasn't unmanageable, but since the Federal Reserve raised rates, payments have soared. An extra $300 or more disappears each month in interest alone. That's money that doesn't pay for beans, doesn't cover rent, doesn't keep staff employed. It just goes to the bank. Dreams of owning a cozy cafe turn into nightmares of endless loan payments. Faced with all of this, cafes are fighting to survive. They're trimming menus to reduce waste, sticking to only the most popular items. They're cross-training staff so one worker can handle 3 jobs when it's slow. Some cafes even install motion sensors that send employees home automatically if the shop is empty. And of course, they're charging for everything. 80 cents for oat milk, 45 cents for an extra shot, 25 cents for a lid. It's not greed, it's survival. Each small fee is a life raft keeping them afloat. If you've already noticed these creeping charges at your local cafe, comment yes right now. And while you're here, hit subscribe. It's free, and it helps me keep making breakdowns like this. Now here's where things get really scary. Customer psychology. Economists talk about price barriers, invisible lines where our perception of value suddenly shifts. For coffee, extensive market research points to a powerful psychological barrier right at the $10 mark. It's the threshold where a daily purchase becomes a luxury splurge. Once a latte crosses that $10 line, the customer's mindset fundamentally changes. That morning, coffee stops being an automatic daily ritual and starts being a conscious, calculated decision, a treat to be considered, maybe even skipped. Hard data shows that for every extra dollar above $10, a cafe can expect to lose about 6% of its customers. So as prices climb, demand falls. But the cafe's major expenses don't change. The rent is still due, staff still need to be paid, and the lights need to stay on. These fixed costs are unforgiving. With fewer customers, each sale has to cover a larger portion of that overhead. To cover the gap, cafes raise prices again, and this begins the dreaded death spiral. A higher price leads to fewer customers, which forces the cafe to raise prices even more to cover its costs, which in turn drives away more people. It's not greed that pushes lattes to $11. It's survival math trapping a business. And it's not just the cafes, roasters are getting hammered too. The small batch roasters who supply independent shops used to secure long-term contracts at stable prices. But those contracts are expiring, and new shipments cost 60% more than last year. To cope, many roasters are quietly shrinkflatting. That bag of beans you bought that used to be 12 ounces, now it's 10, but the price tag didn't change. You're paying the same for less coffee, and most people don't even notice. So where does this leave you, the customer? You have 3 choices. 1, accept coffee as a luxury and pay $11 for the latte. 2, become your own barista. With beans and equipment, you can make cafe quality espresso at home for about $1.30 per cup. A decent machine pays for itself in 6 weeks if you're a daily drinker. Or 3, walk away. Switch to tea, switch to energy drinks, or ditch caffeine altogether. But know this, the $5 coffee era may be gone forever. And this isn't just about your wallet, it's about community. Independent cafes aren't just businesses, they're gathering spots, creative hubs, and anchors of neighborhoods. When they die, they don't get replaced by new independents. They get replaced by Starbucks, Dunkin', and multinational chains that can afford to take losses. The charm, the personality, the little cafe where the barista knows your order, that disappears. So the next time you see that $11 latte, don't just think about your own frustration. Think about what that cafe is up against. Exploding bean prices, higher wages, skyrocketing rent, endless fees, government fines, and suffocating debt. They are literally fighting every day just to keep their doors open. If you care about these places, here's how you can help. Buy a bag of beans to take home. It helps their profit margins massively. Tip in cash so every dollar goes straight to the staff. And at the very least, say thank you. It sounds small, but it matters. Because if we all walk away, the only survivors will be the giant corporations. And once they dominate, choice disappears. Choose wisely, support the independents if you can, and I'll see you in the next video.